Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. I'm really excited about today's video because I'm collaborating with somebody that I recently found here on the YouTube platform. Her channel is growing quite quickly. I enjoy chatting with her. I love watching her videos. We talk over on Instagram. She just seems like a really sweet and genuine person, and I'm just so happy to be doing today's collaboration with Heather Eaglin from Ashes on My Lashes. Let me chat a little bit about Heather's channel and then we'll get into what today's collaboration is about. So Heather, when I found her channel, I think she had 800 or 900 subscribers. She and I were almost even, although she was a bit higher, and now she's almost at 2,000. Her eye looks are absolutely beautiful. She has a great eye for color, but she also just does an amazing job with creating the look. She has a great technique, great execution of her skill set. She blends well, she builds well, she merges the colors in a beautiful way. Her eye looks are gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. And she has a really big eyeshadow palette collection, especially indie brands. She is always on top of the new releases, the newest launches. She's bringing them in, she's playing with them, she's reviewing them, she's ranking them, she's building her collection. She's doing beautiful, beautiful eyeshadow looks. I really recommend you check out Heather's channel. She is going to be linked down below, as well as her Instagram, Ashes on My Lashes. And she's a really sweet lady. She is the content creator that was doing a Halloween giveaway through which I won the Ensley Rain Cold Moon palette. So Heather introduced me to a whole new brand, which honestly has an incredible formula. And I just enjoy chatting with her and watching her videos, and I'm fully here to support her and her channel as she grows and develops this passion of hers. So let's talk about today's video, because what we did for each other, and this was Heather's idea, because oftentimes collaboration videos, while they're always fun, they might be a palette bingo or two creators using the same palette and just getting different looks. What Heather's idea was a little bit different. She said, why don't we just create a mood board or an inspiration board for the other person, and then they have to do an eye look based on those colors. I thought that was a great and creative idea. I hadn't done that before with anybody else, and I love the color palette that she sent me. I'm going to show it to you guys here, and then the color palette I sent her will be in her version of today's video, which will be linked below in my description box. So you can go to her channel and see the color palette that I picked and designed for her and what she did with it in an eye look. I'm really excited. I'm going to show you guys the color palette that she gave me, and then we're going to do some shopping my stash, looking through different palettes to find colors that will match those inspiration colors, and then I'm going to do an eyeshadow look with those palettes. Let me show you the color palette or the mood board that Heather created for me. She used some fantasy fairy ideas. She grabbed a few seashore pictures and sunset on the beach with breakers and waves crashing, and the colors are lovely. They're muted, they're desaturated, they're very soft, almost neutral leaning, very cool toned, but also we've got some pinks, some greens, and some blue shades. So I thought, actually, funnily enough, that the Cold Moon palette, which I got from Heather, would work really well for today's look, but I'm not going to be using it because I just recently on my channel published an entire week of eyeshadow looks using the Cold Moon palette, and I want to make sure I'm giving you guys some variety and content. If you saw another look with Cold Moon on the heels of a whole week of looks, you might be like, okay, we're bored now. But I do think that the Cold Moon palette is gorgeous and the Ensley Rain formula is bonkers good. However, assembled, that's the word, assembled a conglomeration of palettes from my collection, and we're just going to be hunting through these to find the shades that seem to match my inspiration picture. The first palette that we'll talk about is the Nouveau palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is not the most cool tone palette. In fact, I think it's definitely leaning more warm. But I was looking at these two shades right here to be these soft, more muted, peachy sorts of tones. Those are possibilities. Not really this green because it's too warm and too almost grungy. So it's like a dirty green color, and I don't want that. The color palette that Heather designed for me is extremely clean feeling. It's very soft, beachy vibes. Nothing's vibrant, nothing's really bold and out there. It's quiet, and so I don't want anything that's warm. I don't want anything that's mixed with brown and feels dirty or grungy. The next palette I pulled is the Lamora Nude palette. This is an Amazon purchase. It's a dupe for the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, and these colors are so much on theme, I think, with the neutral leaning side of the mood board. We've got some peachy tones, some very, very neutral like bone mattes, and a couple quite light shimmers. So this one, I'm leaning towards this one a little bit more than Nouveau, because Nouveau I sort of associate with I almost said dirty, like kind of the dirtier peachy tones. Not a true peach, but like brown leaning peaches. Peach with just a whisper of brown. Anyway, I think this one's a little bit better of a match for today's inspiration. Now we'll take Jewels and Gem from Udenzai. Particular, I was thinking maybe this, and then like these two up here. I'm sorry, my computer's right here, so I'm looking at the inspiration picture as I talk, but I think not so much this shade, even though I love this shade. I feel like this one's leaning too purple, but that shimmer is striking a chord with me, and maybe these two right here. We'll see. I've got the Muse palette here from Cosmic Beauty, and in particular, again, I was thinking this shade right here, maybe that, but pretty much these two, I think. This one's too much of a turquoise, Caribbean green blue sort of shade. It's not the right tone. And this one, maybe if it were mixed with white to make it more of a pastel version, it could work, although I still think it has a bit too much brown in it. So I'm thinking these two would be the best match for today's prompt, in particular this one. I don't think I have this elsewhere, so I'll probably be using that shade somewhere in today's look. And then also from Udenzai, I pulled the Saga of Freya collection. We've got Cat's Breath. I thought perhaps this would work. In the pan, it's a blue-white marbled shade. I'm not sure. It could work, but it's not making me think like definitely. And then the Saga of Freya Amber Tears, or Tears of Freya. This palette's confusing. It says Saga of Freya, which is the collection. This says Chapter 1, Tears of Freya, and this says Chapter 2, Cat with Golden Carriage. And then this says Amber Tears palette. So the palette name is actually Amber Tears, and then this is Cat's Breath palette. It's like it's got the collection name and then two sub names. I digress. This is the Amber Tears palette. On this one, I was thinking perhaps one of these shades right here, or also perhaps this one. Really pretty, but it's definitely pinky purple, which isn't really in my color story. So maybe that one in particular. What's this one looking like? This would be a really good, this would be a good neutral shimmer. So this shimmer, I think, is a nice match for my color story. So yeah, these two I think are the only ones that are really working. So I think I'm going to swatch the shades that I think would work and then kind of go from there. It's going to be quite a light look today. I'm not expecting to go deep at all. All right, I didn't bother swatching this palette because pretty much anything from this one is on theme except like the darkest of the shades. So if I use this one, I might just dive into it for a shimmer somewhere. So here we've got these three from the Jewels and Gem palette from Udenzai. And then these two are from the Muse palette, and these two are from the Amber Tears palette. All of the other ones I've decided I think they're not quite matching up. So I think that this is a good representation of the color story that she gave me. I can get some depth out of this dark blue or the dark green. So maybe I'll be doing that. So what I'm thinking is, I think I would like to put this in my inner crease area and inner corner. I'm thinking I'll probably do like a peachy pink crease and then deepen with one of these, but maybe not both. And then maybe a pop of shimmer on the lower lash line. That's kind of what I'm thinking, like pop of a neutral shimmer. So one of these, or perhaps something from here. There are also peachy mattes in here, particularly this one, which you probably can't see them swatched in my hand. Well, you can see this one, but then there's also one up here. You know, I think this peach matte from the Lamora palette is too orangey, and then this matte from the Muse palette is too pink, too rosy specifically. So I think that this is the best palette, or the best matte of the ones I've swatched, and that's from the Amber Tears palette. And then there is the Cashmere from the Lamora, which you can't see at all. That's basically, it's my skin tone, so it's not going to bring anything new to the look. I could maybe use it to blend out something that wasn't working so well or was a mistake. It just occurred to me that there were a couple other colors that I hadn't quite centered on, specifically the Cool Tone Green Matte. In the Muse palette, I was thinking maybe of taking Filigree, which in the palette on its own is kind of warm toned, but I think that if I pair it with more cool toned shades, it might soften a little bit. And then in my inspiration picture as well, there's kind of a very muted, sort of like a plummy purple that's really muted and soft. And for that, I was thinking that this one here, Heaven, might be a good match. Again, if I go in quite lightly, don't really build it up, just keep it quiet. But that seems to be the right kind of undertone for the shade in the inspiration picture, just a little bit more pigmented. So if I go in lightly, I think I'll be safe. So I'm going to incorporate those two in my overall plan as well, and now I'll be back. Okay, I have a plan. I have primed my eyes with the Glam Light Icing Primer. Check the description box for links and specifics, and if it's available, it's linked below. Anything that I'm using, not just what I've mentioned, but anything I'm using, if it's available, it's linked. If it's not available, it is at least mentioned. I'm starting with the Muse palette in the shade Softly, and I'm gonna run that through this space right here. I really was drawn to putting this, like before I had planned anything else, I wanted this in my inner crease area. And this is exactly the opportunity. If I wanted to take that shade from the nude palette that's basically my skin, I could just use that to soften this if I was thinking it was too heavy in this particular location. But now we're gonna go into, kind of have palettes everywhere. Now we're going in with a larger blending brush to the shade Skin from the Amber Tears palette, and I'm going to use this as a transition in the rest of my crease. Just gently adding this in, softly building it up a little bit, and using it to buff out the whole transition area. This brush is so soft. This is a Morphe brush. I feel like most of my Morphe brushes are kind of scratchy. I have a set from Blend Bunny, and I have most of Angelica's Singe Beauty set. And compared to those, Morphe tends to be a bit scratchy and uncomfortable. But this one's nice and soft, what a pleasure. Blowing this out all the way like up and through my eyebrow because it's such a light tone. It's just gonna be a nice peachy transition. And you can see, I hope, that it is quite a peachy transition. Now with a Singe brush, this is the EO2, I'm gonna deepen this outer area with the green mats. So I'm gonna actually combine Transition from Jewels and Gem, and I will then take, like I dipped into the pan a little bit, and I'm taking a little bit of Filigree as well. Filigree from Muse. And I'm just gonna put that here. I'm hoping that they're gonna work together to create a soft green-blue effect. I mean, I have the soft blue over here. Do you guys watch Heather Eaglin? I have seen a lot of my, not a lot, some of my subscribers comment over on her channel. And I think one or two of you went to check her out after I won the giveaway and had, or after I'd done maybe the inspired by, because I did an inspired by where she'd done a look and I wanted to recreate it, and that pointed some of my subscribers to her channel. She's really got great content. If you like this sort of thing, you probably can't go wrong checking out her channel, watching her videos. She's so passionate, she's so upbeat, and it's working. I mean, she's got discount codes, she got affiliate codes with brands. She talks to brands personally on the back end. I won't mention anything because I don't want to ruin any surprises or anything, but I know that she's had conversations with some brand owners. She gets PR now from some places, and it's just working for her. I'm so excited for her because she is putting a lot into it, and she has come from some hard places in life. It doesn't seem like she's had an easy road. So it's extra exciting and gratifying to watch her succeed in this and to find her passion and also be able to share her passion with others. I think that's looking lovely. I don't want it to be too muddy, so I'm going to leave the crease alone. There is a peak of the peach right here and then up a little higher, and I don't want it to get totally buried, so I'm going to leave it as is. Now, I think I'll do the mattes quickly on the lower lash line, and then we'll figure out a shimmer. So for the lower lash line, I'm actually going to be using this blue shade and this purple. I'm going to put them so the purple is going to work into the blue. That's what I'm thinking. Let's take kind of a small blending brush. I'll start with the purple because it's a little bit lighter. This purple shade is called Heaven. Did you guys see my recent video about Udenzai and whether or not the formula was changing? And now the shade Rapture from the same palette. I haven't had any issues with this palette or the other one from the Yours Divine collection, Stone and Rock. I like them. I haven't used them extensively, so maybe I just haven't yet encountered problem shades. Like, I think I've used all the shades, but I haven't had any problems. Well, that blue was way deeper than I was thinking, so I'll go back into Rapture and just kind of bring it up here a little bit. Also, the 2024 holiday palettes from Udenzai, I've heard more positive reviews on them than the 2023. And also, specifically, I've heard more positive reviews from people who didn't review or favor the 2023 releases. Like Morgan Turner, she didn't care for Snow Dream or Hey Reindeer, but she did say that these newer ones seem to be a better formula across the board. I think she said one or two shades were a bit problematic for her, but on the whole, it seems like their formula had improved. And so that's exciting. Obviously, that's what we want, you know. I don't know, maybe they heard people's comments and changed what they were doing, or maybe they were just some flukes, or there are so many options or possibilities for what could be the case, but hopefully they're coming around again. Now we've lost that greeny color, so let's go back into filigree just a little bit. I really wanted to try to incorporate all of the shades that Heather had put on the mood board into the look today. There. I just felt like it would be like a full representation of what her inspiration was. Okay, now let's talk about the shimmer. I'm gonna swatch Luster from Muse, even though I wasn't planning on looking at that one. I'll swatch Elatedness from Jules and Gem. I will swatch Rosenquartz from Amber Tears. And let's have a look at Lamora. There are two in here that I would consider. We've got Halo and Quartz. I think Quartz might be, yeah, well, so this is just Quartz. Okay, so we've got Muse, Jules and Gem, Freya, and Lamora. Jules and, or this is Luster. It's out. I'm sorry, I'm getting the palettes mixed up. So this is what we have now. You know what, these are both from Udenzai, but they're different formulas. So this from Udenzai is their Jules and Gem, and it's a little bit more textured, and then this is Freya, which is quite a bit creamier. Textured and more sparkly. This one's really reflective, look at that. Let's do these two. So this is from Jules and Gem. I'm just gonna lay it down. This is Elatedness from Jules and Gem. I like the sparkle, even if it's a tiny bit more textured. I don't like glitter, let's be clear about that. I don't want glitter. But if it's a little bit textured and I get a bit of sparkle, then that's nice. And then I'll pick up Quartz from Lamora, and I'll put that here. Okay, now I feel like I need something really striking at the inner corner because it's quite cool toned, it's quite soft and muted, but I still want a little pop there. So I'm going to take a bit of the Halo shade in this palette and just put that right here. Yeah, just to wake up the inner corner a little bit and drag it to the inner lower lash line. That's it. I'm gonna go off camera and do the other side, and then I'm gonna come back and gather my thoughts and compare them to the inspiration picture and see how I did. So this is the look. Now everything's done. I will tell you first what I did to finish everything off, and then I'll just get into some thoughts and reflections on today's video. First off, in my waterline, I used white and then a deep midnight blue. This is the shade Deep Ocean from Rimmel London. Again, everything is linked in the description box. On my lips, I'm wearing three things actually. I have a lip liner from Italia Deluxe. I think that shade is called Natural Beige, but if it's not, I'll, put the correct shade in the description box as well. I then topped it with the NYX Smooth Whip in the shade Latte Foam, which is my favorite of this formula, like my favorite shade. But then I was thinking that it was actually a little bit too warm, so I topped it with something cooler and more purple leaning, which is a lip oil from ColourPop. This is Paper Pansy. Now, as for my face, I have some blush. Well, this is eyeshadow. It's the Festival palette from Juvia's Place, but I'm using this as a face palette. I have a tiny bit of these two. This is very, very pigmented because it's eyeshadow, so I go in really lightly, but that's what I'm wearing on my cheeks. And I do have a highlighter from the BH Cosmetics Frosé palette I went in with this one today. So that's everything for the look. And then let me tell you about the, like, what I actually ended up using of the palettes. I used these four. I used one shadow from the Amber Tears palette. I used two from the Lamora Nude. I used two from the Muse palette, and I used four from the Jewels and Gem palette. So this actually featured more heavily than I was thinking it would. I kind of planned on or expected to use Muse more, but this palette just had all the right tones. And I'm not surprised, because every time I talk about this palette, the words that I use are soft, muted, desaturated, but like an evening garden, very soft, very quiet. That's what this palette is. So I'm actually not surprised that I was able to find so many shades that worked perfectly with my theme within that palette. Now, about the look itself and the theme, I think that I did a pretty good job matching my inspiration picture, my mood board. If anything, I would say that I'm missing that sage green as a really, maybe not prominent color, because I wanted to use all the shades and all the colors, but definitely it's not standing out by itself. It's not really visible. I ended up using the green to help deepen, so it was blended with other tones, because the green I was using wasn't a true sage. Maybe if I'd had a true sage, I would have been able to incorporate a bit more as a standalone, like clearly you can see the green. But on the whole, I think that this eye look is very cohesive. It's soft, it's kind of flattering and romantic. It's not too wild or over the top. I think it does meet my criteria from my inspiration board, and I think it's really lovely. I would so appreciate hearing your feedback. Of course, I always enjoy chatting with you guys in the comments, as you know. And I just have to say thank you again to Heather for doing this with me. Definitely check out Heather's channel, Ashes on My Lashes. She has great content, and I'm really excited to see what she does with the mood board that I created for her, because I know it's going to be beautiful. I'm curious to see what palettes she uses and which direction she goes, where she decides to place the colors. I have loved today's video. I would love to do more with Heather if she wants to collab with me again. Thank you all very much for being here, for clicking on my video. I hope you have enjoyed this content and would consider subscribing before you go if you want to see more. Remember to check the description box for other video ideas, playlist suggestions, links to everything I'm using, some frequently asked questions, contact, etc. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to chatting with you in my next video. Bye guys.